So, when you think about Thanksgiving, what pops into your head? You're probably thinking turkey, family, maybe some football, a tradition that feels like it's been the same forever. But what if I told you it wasn't always so set in stone? Okay, let's dive into the surprisingly chaotic and, yeah, unpredictable history of Thanksgiving, all through the lens of one American city. You know, this quote from the Knoxville History Project really just says it all. We're about to uncover how this holiday morphed from like a regional curiosity into this huge, noisy festival, and then eventually into the tradition we know today. But oh man, not without a few really strange detours along the way. All right, so first things first, we've got to get one thing straight. Thanksgiving wasn't just born a national holiday. For a long, long time, it was seen as something of a novelty, especially if you lived outside of the American Northeast. That's right. For most of the country, Thanksgiving was basically just a New England holiday. You know, it had those strong ties to that 1621 event up in Massachusetts. But it took a serious, and I mean serious, campaign to get the rest of the country on board. And that campaign, it was a real slow burn. It all started back in 1827 with a journalist named Sarah Josepha Hale, who, and this is a great little fun fact, also wrote Mary Had a Little Lamb. But it took 20 years, 2 decades, for the idea to even show up in a Knoxville newspaper. Finally, in 1855, Governor Andrew Johnson made it official for Tennessee. So this wasn't some overnight thing. It was this slow, gradual process of becoming a local habit. And here's where it gets interesting. Even as Knoxville started to embrace the holiday, it was already doing things, well, differently. Get this. In 1856, Tennessee celebrated Thanksgiving a full week later than most of the rest of the nation. This whole theme of being just a little out of step is something we're going to see again. Okay, now let's shift gears to a truly dramatic period. The Civil War would completely, radically redefine the holiday. It transformed it from just a simple day of thanks into this powerful symbol of national identity, even under the absolute most dire circumstances you can imagine. This date, November 26, 1863, marks the very first national Thanksgiving, proclaimed by President Abraham Lincoln himself. But for the people of Knoxville, it was anything but a celebration. The city was completely surrounded by 20,000 Confederate soldiers who were actively trying to starve them out. This quote from historian Dr. Digby Seymour is just chilling. Forget about a feast, the soldiers defending the city were literally starving. Their big Thanksgiving meal was a half ration of bread. It is just such a stark reminder that the first national Thanksgiving in Knoxville was observed under gunfire, not around a dinner table. But, you know, after all that hardship of the war, the pendulum swung hard in the other direction. The Gilded Age arrived, and Thanksgiving in Knoxville just exploded. It went from the solemn religious observance into a loud, public, and honestly, sometimes chaotic festival. I mean, just look at this list to get a sense of the change. Can you imagine fireworks so loud they're interrupting the church hymns? People were hitting up roller skating parties and tennis tournaments, and you can bet the vaudeville theaters were absolutely packed. The quiet, family-focused holiday we know was still a long, long way off. So what was it actually like to be there? Come on, let's zoom in on a single day a century ago, Thanksgiving 1924, to get a real taste of what the era was like. And here it is, 27-6. This was the final score of the big Thanksgiving Day football game. The University of Tennessee Vols play the Kentucky State Wildcats at home and, well, they got mollywopped. Yeah, a tough day for the home team for sure. But after the game, you definitely had options. You could go see the famous illusionist Harry Blackstone perform live, or maybe head over to see a Cecil B. DeMille silent movie. Remember, the era of talkies hadn't quite arrived yet. And of course, there was always some mischief to be found. This was during Prohibition, right? So when police found 3 city workers drinking on the job in a sewer truck, the workers claimed they just found the liquor in some bushes. Their excuse? It was like finding Easter eggs for grown-ups. You can't make this stuff up. Thanksgiving also marked the official start of the Christmas shopping season, just like today. And a quick look at the ads for Miller's department store shows you could get a smart winter dress or a new coat for about $24 and a handbag for just under $3. And the shopping options were, well, they were varied. Over at Sturchy Brothers, right alongside the heaters and furniture, they were advertising a wonderful Shetland pony for some lucky kid. Yeah, you probably won't find that in a Black Friday ad today. So, how in the world did we get from Shetland ponies and public fireworks to the holiday we recognize now? Well, over the 20th century, Thanksgiving slowly started to settle down, becoming the quieter family tradition it is today. But Knoxville and the state of Tennessee had one last little quirk up their sleeve.
Which brings us to a really simple question. So, when was Thanksgiving? Seems obvious, right? But for decades in Tennessee, the answer wasn't so simple at all.
Believe it or not, all the way into the 1940s, Tennessee was still out of step with everyone else. While the rest of the country celebrated on the fourth Thursday of November, Tennessee often celebrated on the last Thursday. Sometimes that meant they were a full week late to the party. So, from a regional novelty to a holiday under siege, a noisy public festival, and a tradition that couldn't even settle on the right date for decades, the past of Thanksgiving is so much more unpredictable than we imagine. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What surprising stories are hiding behind the traditions that you take for granted?